Welcome to the Gay Buddhist Forum, where teachers from all schools of Buddhism offer their perspectives on the Dharma and its application in modern times, especially for LGBTQI audiences. These talks are offered freely to the world and made possible by appreciative listeners. If you would like to support our efforts to share the Dharma with underserved audiences, please visit gaybuddhist.org. There you can donate, find a list of upcoming speakers, or enjoy many hundreds of these recorded talks dating back to 1996.
Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Jeff, Pat, everybody who's been so kind and welcoming to me this morning. It's great to be here. As was said, I was one of the founders of this Buddhist Center, and I used to live right above us. And I hope I wasn't too loud. There was one time I forgot there was a class down here, and a friend had just gotten back from Tibet and gave me one of those Tibetan singing bowls. And what was worse was I had just gotten a new CD of a Jimi Hendrix live concert. So Jimmy was going, and I was going, woo, 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 and the people in the class were going, what's going on? They did guess Jimi Hendrix, but they couldn't figure out what that other sound was. So let me just start my timer. So anyway, today I'm going to be reading my devotional poems to Amitābha Buddha. That's this golden figure here. This is a Japanese version of Amitābha Buddha. In Japan, he is known as Amitābha Buddha. And the tradition in Japan and in Amitābha practice is saying the Buddha name or the Nembutsu in Japan or Nianfo in China. So it's a repeating of the Buddha name. Amitābha is the focus of Pure Land Buddhism, and it's called Pure Land Buddhism because Amitābha has vowed to help all beings who call his name by meeting them in the moment of their death and bringing them back to his Pure Land. Buddhas create Pure Lands as an expression of their compassion to provide a place of refuge and spiritual light. The first step on this path is acknowledging that we are a foolish being who needs the help of a Buddha if we are to ever get enlightened. To come to that place where we realize we can't make it on our own. The second step is picking up the habit of saying Amitābha's name in little batches throughout your day. So like you're waiting for an elevator, Amitābha, Amitābha, Amitābha. Stuck in traffic, oh, Amitābha, Amitābha, Amitābha. Whatever circumstances, it's again bringing our mind back to this particular Buddha. And then finally, we place our heart on being born in the Pure Land, that we know that we need this assistance and the way forward is through Amitābha's help. So today, this is going to be more of a poetry reading than a Dharma talk. So for those who haven't been to poetry readings, if you like a poem, feel free to clap. I say a line that's really good. We've got a lot of beards here, so we can do the strokey beard. Or if you're an old beatnik at heart, go man, go. Like we used to do at the old poetry readings. So I'm going to launch into it with a poem called Milk Bottle. My habitual selfishness muddies my mind, leaving it like an old half-buried milk bottle. Yet through all of that grime, Amitābha sees me as a vessel for enlightenment. This next one is called Amitābha's Karma Carries Me. I have released into the wind of Amitābha's pure karma. It carries me along, a dandelion seed parachute caught up on the breeze. There is no more for me to do. I float, I wait, knowing that when the seed touches the earth, life will remake itself. Knowing that when I get to the Pure Land, my consciousness will make the great shift, and all that was I will be enlightenment. So there's that line, there is no more for me to do. It doesn't sound like Buddhism, does it? We should be meditating and struggling along in our ethical practice, or at least trying to be mindful. Well, those practices are part of what's known as the self-power path, or the path of sages. In the Pure Land way, we make use of the other power of Amitābha. All we have to do is release into the help of Amitābha Buddha. This help is there waiting for us if we just pick up the habit of reciting the Buddha name. It is the help of Amitābha which ensures our enlightenment. Our meager efforts really have nothing to do with it. Now, if we wish to meditate and do ethical practice, that's all fine, that's all good. But for our enlightenment in the Pure Land way, we rely 100% on Amitābha's help to bring us to enlightenment. We can be diligent in our ethics, but we know that our ethical transgressions don't stop Amitābha from loving us. Now, I did the self-power practices for many, many years, and I certainly made spiritual progress, and I became a better person for it. The world is probably better off that I practice Buddhism. But however, as far as getting enlightened is concerned, all those decades of meditation showed me just how far I have to go. And I saw that I was going to run out of life before freeing myself. In this next poem, I tried to come up with the most concise expression of the Pure Land way. So it's called the Pure Land way in brief. Birth, old age, sickness, and death. Repeat. Birth, old age, sickness, and death. Repeat. Or recite Amitābha's name to enter the Pure Land and become a Buddha. Recite Amitābha's name to enter the Pure Land and become a Buddha. One of the great aspects of Amitābha is his acceptance of us with all of our faults, just as we are, exactly as we are. This poem's called "We Are Here Afloat." We have been thrown unceremoniously into the sea of human existence. Adrift now for a very long time, we are here afloat in the far reaches of what people call normal. Some of us are drenched in addiction, others tossed about by swells of bitter mental health. And sadly, so sadly, many are drowning in loss and grief. O Amitābha, send your light upon us. Let us call your name in clear tones or gravelly voices. Your name, said between coughs and cussing. Bring us some small bit of the Pure Land now, for our own bad karma has us by the throat. Dreams and aspirations have become soggy and sunk away to the depths. Despite what we have done, Amitābha, despite what has happened to us, still you come to save all who call your name. Appearing warm on the horizon, you cross this sea of human consciousness quickly and pull up alongside us in your lotus boat. The golden luster of your robes reflects from the giant white lotus petals. For those of us here adrift, you lower one of the petals into the water so we may swim into its scoop and be drawn back up onto the deck. There, the lotus hull gives off a rich scent, permeating the lush robes wrapped around us. You welcome us, Amitabha, with a joyful smile. Your light falls upon us. Our hands, our faces, all begin to bear the golden radiance that marks a member of your family. It has been a rough journey, but we are safe at last, sailing with Amitabha back to the Pure Land. This one's called My Image of Myself. Somewhere deep down in the gullet of my beliefs, I don't think I'm worthy of enlightenment. Despite my good works and kindnesses, my nasty ways and selfishness cast a shadow over my image of myself. To my great relief, this doesn't prevent Amitabha from loving me and accepting me exactly as I am. He cradles me gently, a baby bird fallen and found. I'm a gerontologist, so I work with older folks, and I work at a retirement community here in San Francisco. But this one's about me and my aging. It's called As I Age. As I age, I become old tree. I'm rooted to the earth through Dharma wheels on the flats of my feet. The long, sinewy tendrils of my roots squirm out through the dirt in every direction. Years on, deep down, way down, I reach a depth where the tips of my roots can just touch earth wisdom. I see that the syrupy flow of life moves through my veins as an ever-present blessing. Sentience, consciousness, coming back around to look at itself. But I am set upon by thunder blast after thunder blast. My bark gets harder. The outer layer has formed into long shield shapes. I've got thick branches, firm, but going brittle. Storm, damage, wind, snap, deep cracks hobble some of my limbs. Yet old tree keeps waiting, waiting for the seed of another life to drop. But this next seed, it will land in the Pure Land to germinate and become all golden of light itself. Oh, the kindness in Amitabha's realm, the fussing and fighting here of human society, unthinkable in the Pure Land. There is no grasping, no hatred, and even ignorance is quickly blooming into insight. So old tree stands, a process, a momentum of life come to fruition and fading away. And a day will come when I will be all tumbled down. But until then, I will wear my years with pride and someday trade them for a place in Amitabha's Pure Land. This one is called Groomed. Oh,, I believe in you and you believe in me. You are sure that I can become a Buddha when I doubt it myself. You are willing to take me over to Sukhavati, that's the name of the Pure Land. You are willing to take me on as part of your family. In the Pure Land, you will brush out my evils the way one uses a hard wire brush on a big dog's knotty mane. You will snip out the great dreadlock of my selfishness. And when you are done, Amitabha, my spirit will shine a golden glow, and I will curl up to rest, warm and content in the Pure Land. So what is the Pure Land exactly? I don't know. The Buddhist texts have us being born out of giant lotus flowers into a world of palaces and temples and wide ponds and trees made out of jewels. But the jewels in the Pure Land are soft, so you can walk along jewel-strewn pathways, and then the jewels pop back up into shape. Now, all this sounds pretty fantastical, but you have to remember that the Pure Land is within consciousness, and consciousness is vast. There is a great flow of it throughout the cosmos. Within consciousness, many incredible things can take place. Perhaps you've had bizarre dreams or had visionary experiences through psychedelics. So Amitabha has carved out a place within consciousness which takes in stray spirits like ourselves. This poem is called Immutable. One of the descriptors of Amitabha is that he's immutable, unchanging. Amitabha gives us his name to stand on in a shifting world where nothing lasts. We bring him to mind again and again amidst all of these fears of frailty in this life, with our final end ever threatening. Even in downtrodden times, we can pour Amitabha into our minds and let those hurtful thoughts float away like drowned flies, their little corpses spinning and spinning away, away, away. One thing to remember is that our mind can really only think one thing at a time. It can move incredibly fast back and forth between thoughts, but only really can focus on one thing at a time. So by bringing Amitabha to mind regularly, we can consciously step out of negative thought loops. Water. As water finds the lowest point, Amitabha's love flows down to the worst amongst us. Though they are worthy of being despised, Amitabha sees the Buddha there within them, as an antique dealer can see the value through the dust. So Amitabha is not interested in meting out punishment for people for what they have done. He knows that we are all confused, and the worst amongst us are the most seriously confused. And I think some people say, well, that's not fair. I've been a good person. I should get all of Amitabha's love. They should pay their price. But it's a whole different perspective from Amitabha's point of view. Some Pure Land teachers have spoken of different levels of the Pure Land, or that it takes longer for your lotus bud to open if you haven't been a good person in this life. But as far as I'm concerned, the lowest of the low levels in the Pure Land would be so much higher than this human world of suffering that I'll take whatever I can get. In this poem, I mentioned the ocean of bliss, and that's another name for the Pure Land, for Sukhavati, the ocean of bliss. On the run from what I have done, the hounds of karma are close behind me. In the hopes of losing the scent of all my bad deeds of body, speech, and mind, I race down to the river of my spiritual energy. But I find the river low, more a series of pools than any kind of flow of transcendent, higher consciousness. The barking gets louder, and I hurry on down the river bed, scrambling over boulders of doubt and thick clusters of rocky troubles. Despite all of my exertions, I become mud stuck in this groggy mess of confusion. I cry out for some relief. Amitābha, help me. Now, whether due to my own good karma ripening or the grace of a bodhisattva passing by, Amitābha has entered my life. He has come in low from upstream, a frothing wave rushing around my ankles, the swirling waters quickly freeing my feet and tossing aside my karmic hounds. Amitābha fills in the riverbed for me with his resolve to save those who recite his name. The buoyancy of the Buddha name lifts me up into the current of the now flowing river. Bobbing comfortably, all the many pebbles of resentments I have collected in my pockets fall now to the river bottom. No longer weighted down, my spirit becomes light, and I can stretch out my body as I float and wiggle my toes downstream towards the Pure Land. I still get scrapes and bangs and bounce off from submerged branches, but at times it also feels like I am soaring in the Buddha name as I round another bend in this river. Now, when the white seabirds appear overhead, I'll know the ocean of bliss lies just ahead. Time to leave this muddy river for the clear waters of the sea, where in the west, the sun hangs like a drum over the horizon. Amitābha. That image of the sun hanging like a drum over the horizon is the first visualization or contemplation in what's known as the Contemplation Sutra. And it's a whole visualization that you can go through that of visualizing the Pure Land, which is very fascinating and interesting to do. But you don't have to do that visualization or do that visualization perfectly in order to get to the Pure Land. Again, we're relying on Amitābha's help, this sense of other power. Okay. This one, I was reflecting on that moment when I was a little kid, and somebody had said, well, everyone dies. Wait, everyone dies? I can't believe it. That means me. So this is called Awake to My Mortality. A deep awareness of my own mortality has run me over. It came out of nowhere, leaving me no different than a half-squashed lizard out on a desert highway. My front legs and my vanity still try to go along as if nothing is wrong, but I've lost my youthful invincibility. It's as useless as my tattered tail stuck to the splattered streak running down the road. My eyes roll around every which way, looking for an end that I know is coming. With the dark sky cupping the horizon, the deep truth of my aloneness glares at me. Then the coyotes call far too close. I find myself with no way to run from the realization that I exist, but only as briefly as a dry breeze retreating before the coming rain. Well, since that was a heavy one, let's do something on a lighter note. Do y'all remember the zoot suits? The big shoulders and all the fabric and everything? This was in the 40s, I guess, and they had the zoot suit riots, which was sailors and soldiers started attacking these guys who were wearing these zoot suits. It was primarily Italians and Puerto Ricans in New York, and then Mexicans and Hispanics in Los Angeles. But although it has a bad history like that, I just think they're really cool. So this is called What to Wear. I'm going to introduce the zoot suit to the Pure Land when I get there. No off-the-shoulder robes for me. Big padded shoulders, that's what I want. Something wild to wear on my enlightened ramblings down the tree-lined lanes. I'll step out in black and white wingtip shoes to click and clatter down the bricks in the Pure Land. I'll have a gold timepiece to swing on a chain, a watch whose hands tell only of eternity. With a Sukhavati sweetie on my arm, a crystal carnation in my lapel, we'll promenade around the land of bliss. Wearing my wide-brimmed fedora, I'll tip it in devotion as we come upon strolling Buddhas, and I'll remove it with a grand flourish each time I bow to Amitābha. So if when you get to the Pure Land, everyone is wearing zoot suits, you'll know who started the trend. So this next one is about a friend of mine who just has a hard time of life. Maybe you know people like that. It just seems whatever they do, they just seem to have a hard time of it. So it's called Trampled On. She was a trampled on young woman. Life had already walked hard upon her. That anxious brow told of how everything was a struggle. Yet going out the door, no matter how late she might already be, she never missed making 3 quick bows to a plastic Amitabha on her shrine. Her recitations of the Buddha name slowly polished the tiny crystals and gems she had laid out in a sliver of a moon arc. Once, during a back porch break from the crowded revelries going on inside, she said, "Amitabha is all I really have, and I think that's enough." Well, I agreed, so we promised to meet up with each other in the Pure Land, and she is over there now. The first thing she said she was going to do was to wade into one of the pools lined with gold dust sand, just so she could feel gold squishing between her toes. Me, I just want to fly, fly, fly like I have in a dream. But it will be so good to catch up with her, and she can show me around the Pure Land with her toes all sparkling gold. Now, this is no eulogy, just a voicing of rejoicing that a person tumbling through life can call the Buddha name and find equilibrium in Amitabha's light. Well, and here we are at the last poem already. Thank you so much. You guys have been a great audience. And Jeff, thank you again. And thank you again for your help. I forgot your name again.
Cass.
Cass. Thank you, Cass. So when people pass away, we're often sad for them that they've left this world and such. So this poem is called "Don't Be Sad for Me." When my karma has finally worn thin, and my body is broken and blue, don't be sad for me. I have a lot to celebrate, for I will be turned loose, no longer tacked to the wheel of life after life. The human habit will be abandoned, and I will be bound for the Pure Land. You see, Amitabha knows me, knows my voice calling his name. When my breath is gone away and it won't be coming back, Amitabha will be there to meet me. Oh, to be in that moment, to finally be in his presence. Just amazing. His great golden radiance, brighter than the sun, but soft as the light from a lover's bedside lamp. So I will walk out the gates of old age, sickness, and death, and go with Amitabha back to the Pure Land. There I will step out onto my lotus, floating on a turquoise lake. I'll take my seat and listen to teachings directly from Amitabha, which free my heart and purify my mind. So don't be sad for me, and you have a bountiful life yourself. When you finally do arrive in the Pure Land, come find me. Look for the musicians up in the clouds floating above, and I'll be down there below, on top of one of the bridges that curve over clear canals, there where everyone dances in bliss. I suspect that's where I'll be spending a lot of my time. So, thank you all for listening. Taking down a little bit of time for questions or comments or any of that. Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Could you give me as some historical context?
Sure.
On Amitabha?
Sure.
And also, I'm just interested in why what made you move from your previous practice to this practice.
Sure. So Pure Land Buddhism is part of Mahayana Buddhism. Any Buddhist scholars in here? I always don't know if I'm going to get corrected or not. I believe the Mahayana Sutras started about 300 years after the life of the Buddha. And so we've got these texts that were sort of revealed, as it were. But the historical Buddha, when he got enlightened, saw all of the other Buddhas throughout the cosmos. We tend to think of just Shakyamuni Buddha so much, but there are all these other Buddhas as well. And so we're really just tuning in to Amitabha Buddha through this practice of reciting his name. And there's a number of schools. It moved through the different countries, starting in India, up in through China, Japan, and it's the largest denomination in Japan at this time. So there's a number of different Pure Land schools, and that's how I came in contact with it. There's a Jodo Shinshu Center over on Pine Street, and Van Ness has the Chinese temple. That's a Pure Land temple as well. As far as how why I made that switch, I was a big Tibetan Padmasambhava devotee, gonna use that Vajra to break through all my evils and confusions and all that, and it didn't work. For me, it really was more of an expression of my willfulness, and it was quite something to turn it on its head, and rather than trying to move away or conquer being a foolish being, to fully own being a foolish being. And so I have so much gratitude that there's also this path of Buddhism, where we've got the self-power practices, and then we've got Pure Land Buddhism, which is this other power practice. That is not all up to me. I don't know about you, but there's been times I've been on retreat and such, I've been scared, thinking, wow, I am just never gonna break through. And if you believe in the Buddhist concept of rebirth, then we're up for another life. And I didn't want to be a teenager again. I had enough of that one this last time. So that's why in this Pure Land way, in the moment of your death, Amitabha appears and then takes you back to the Pure Land. And I kind of like that idea of, in my moment of death, there's a Buddha that's going to help me out, because I'm scared of that. Yeah. Good question. Oh yeah, in the back. Hi.
Thank you. Really beautiful thoughts.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Quick question. You had mentioned a visualization
Yes.
of the Pure Land. Yeah, I didn't quite catch this sort of tactically. I don't actually do that.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, look for the Contemplation Sutra, online Contemplation Sutra. Some translations translate it as the Meditation Sutra, but it's really lovely. You start off with that sun over the horizon, and then you imagine the world just sort of flooded and then freezing. And then it's like these sort of crystalline ground. And then you build up the visualization from there of the temples, the Buddha, all the qualities of the Buddha and such. It's quite fun. Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, Jeff.
Thank you for a great talk. I was really touched by your comment that your friend made on the back porch about, all I have is Amitabha.
Yeah.
That, I worked with Thai people for quite a while. And you get down, it's really boiled, you boil it down to what is there left.
That's it.
Yeah.
What is there in our experience that's left?
Yeah.
And in a way, this relationship with Amitabha Buddha is our most precious, or our relationship to our spirituality, because it's the only relationship that goes with us through that process of death. So it is very reassuring. And it is the type of practice that in the last moment, somebody could say, oh, I heard that guy John talk about Amitabha. And even in that moment, if you have that desire to go to the Pure Land and you want to accept that help, just reciting the Buddha name can get that help. Yeah. Hi.
Yeah, I have a question about what does Pure Land Buddhism say about our role here on earth before we go to the Pure Land of relieving others' suffering?
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of compassionate work that different schools and traditions do. And the idea is that we're trying to help people as quickly as we can. And the most we can help people is once we're a Buddha. So what's the most expedient way to get to become a Buddha? And so people see it in the Pure Land way that this is the most expedient way. And then to come back to the world after becoming a Buddha, so that you can really help people on a deep and profound level. So of course, there's all the kindness and things that we should be doing in this world as best we can. But the idea is trying to get to that Buddhahood state as quickly as we possibly can. Does that answer your question? Yeah, yeah.
And the path to that Buddhahood state is the recitation.
Yes. Yeah.
Devotion.
Yep. It's the devotions. It's really like keeping your heart open. And as you do the reciting the Buddha name regularly, I feel this openness and receptivity, but also a sense of connection as well. A lot of us do visualizations with Amitabha above our head, from the top chakra just above. And I definitely have that sense of being in the company of Amitabha, because because we got this relationship. Yeah. Any more questions or comments? In the back, yes.
The impression I got in you relating to your previous path
Yeah.
was the hard work that it took,
Sure.
almost reify the blocks you all were always were trying to break through.
Yeah.
So the surrendering that you found in Pure Land
Yeah.
allows you just to release your Buddha nature.
Right. Right. There was that sense that I've hit a lot of walls in my spiritual practice, but I was always able to get up and over or around or under. But I did have an experience where 3 terrible things happened to me all at once in my life. And I had an emotional meltdown upstairs, actually. I just was beside myself of what am I going to do? What is the way forward? And so I was able to bring my mind and my heart back to Kuan Yin. I've had a close relationship with the Kuan Yin figure, which is known as Kannon in Japan. And a year after I had had that experience, that emotional meltdown, I took a trip to Japan, to Kamakura, to do a 33 temple pilgrimage there to Kannon. And in the course of that pilgrimage, she introduced me, or he, they see it as a he over in Japan, he introduced me to Amitābha. And that was very profound. And I was so happy and relieved to find that. Yeah. And just a word about whether Amitābha is a him, a her, or what, or how does that work? And really, at that level of enlightenment, there's not gender, those categorizations. So I apologize, I have been using the he, but you could easily say he, she, or she as well. That's that. So they talk about Amitābha as the great parent, both mother and father. So if that's a useful way to think about it, you can do that as well. Good, thank you. Great. All right.
One more quick question.
Yes, please.
You brought this beautiful Buddha today to add to the altar. Is there anything you can say about that?
Sure. Yeah, and this one I love because it's the gold representation. When you read the sutras, when you read the Contemplation Sutra, they describe his features as being golden. Now you'll also see Amitābha in a red form in the meditation posture, and that's the Indo-Tibetan tradition. Amitābha is one of the 5 Dhyana Buddhas. If you know what that is, it's a little too much for me to go into right now, but you'll also see him in that type of form. This one, let's see what my hands on. It's the idea of fearlessness, but then also helping. So you've got that assistance coming, but also that fearlessness that, in a way, if we've got our enlightenment worked out and we're going to have a Buddha meet us at death, that really does relieve a lot of anxiety. You know, if you get into it and if it speaks to your heart. And I have to say, this is one of those paths that either it speaks to your heart or it doesn't. I first came across the Pure Land way 25 years ago, and it just didn't click with me at that time. I think when I was a younger man, I needed to be like a go-getter and, you know, jump over tall buildings and all of that. Now in my days, I'm quite content to accept some help. Yeah.
Maybe you show the people online.
Oh, yeah.
That you can hold up.
Wonderful.
And my comment is that I grew up Catholic. And this is really like, you know, seems parallel to accept Jesus as your savior and go to heaven. So like, you have any kind of
Sure.
comment on that parallel?
Yeah. You know, there's definitely those similarities because you on the surface where you've got, oh, we're going to go to this place and everything's going to be wonderful. We're going to be taken care of. But in the Pure Land, our work isn't over yet. We're doing spiritual practice, but under excellent conditions. no distraction, no grasping, no hatred, no fussing and fighting amongst us. It's basically joining in with a people who are all moving towards enlightenment. And so I'm not from the Catholic faith. I was raised in the Methodist faith myself. And I can appreciate that sense of, oh, how am I going to just believe and give myself over to something? But for me, I got to the end of the line and I really didn't have any other choice. I just got to that point in my self-power practice where I was locked in and wasn't going anywhere. And to come to accept my foolishness really made a huge difference. There's some psychological thing that kind of happens there when you're willing to be foolish, that we're kinder to ourselves. Sometimes with the self-power practices, it feels like we're chasing after our better self, but we never quite catch it. And here it's quite the opposite. Did you have anything more to add on that? Okay, no, great. Ah, good audience, good questions. Thank you. I love the engagement.
Thank you, John. So some of these poems available in your book?
Yes, some of those poems are in that book. This month I'm finishing my second manuscript, so that'll be out. I've also put a pad out there. If you'd like to be on my email list, when my next book comes out, I'll send out notices. I also do some jewelry with Amitabha's name on it, and t-shirts and things like that. It's a full wraparound kind of help here. Good. Well, thank you all so much, and it's been a real pleasure.
The book
Thank you,
is called Hope from the Pure Land Way in Unnerving Times.
Yes.
And your website is purelandartwork.com.
That's
If
correct.
people online could
Yes.
contact you through there.
Yeah, and it's also available on Amazon
Okay.
as well. You can just do a search by my name. Since my last name is Del Bagno, you get a lot of stuff about bath towels. But my book's right in there. Yeah. Good. All right. Thank you.